Story 3. The Red Ribbon Path. The Appalachian Trail is supposed to be well marked by white blazes, but sometimes you find markers that don't belong to the National Park Service. Deep in the wilderness of the Jefferson National Forest, I followed a trail of red silk ribbons that I thought were left by a hiker in distress. By the time I realized what they were actually marking, the sun had set, and the thing that tied them was standing right behind me. South of the James River, the trail enters a stretch of forest so dense and ancient that the air feels heavy, like it's been trapped under the canopy for decades. I was 3 days into a section hike when I noticed the first ribbon, a strip of vibrant crimson silk tied neatly around a birch branch. It stood out like a wound against the muted greens and browns of the woods. Then I saw another one 50 yards ahead, and another after that, leading away from the white-blazed main trail and down into a steep, sunless ravine. I'm a sucker for a hiker-in-need scenario, and I figured someone had gotten turned around and was leaving a trail to follow back. I followed the red markers for nearly 2 miles, the descent becoming so steep I had to use the rhododendron roots as handholds. The further I went, the fresher the ribbons looked, their silk shimmering as if they were wet. I reached the bottom of the ravine, where the air was unnaturally cold, and the ribbons suddenly stopped at the entrance of a narrow limestone cave. Hanging from the roof of the cave entrance was a final ribbon, but this one wasn't tied to a branch. It was tied to a human finger, pale and severed, pointing directly into the black mouth of the cavern. Why was the finger still warm to the touch, and whose voice was whispering my name from the back of the cave? The sight of that finger, a clean surgical cut at the knuckle, sent a wave of nausea through me that was followed instantly by a primal, screaming need to run. But as I turned to scramble back up the slope, the whispering started. It wasn't just my name. It was a specific phrase my mother used to say to me when I was a child. Stay where the light can find you. The voice didn't sound like a recording or a ghost. It sounded physical. It sounded like it was coming from a throat filled with gravel and honey. I froze, my boots slipping on the damp moss. If I ran now in the dimming light, I'd likely break an ankle on the steep incline. If I stayed, I was at the mercy of whatever was using my mother's words as bait. I clicked on my headlamp, the high-intensity LED beam cutting a sharp path into the cave. The walls were slick with condensation, and the floor was littered with bones, mostly deer and small game, but all of them had been cracked open to get to the marrow. As I panned the light toward the back, I saw the source of the voice. It wasn't my mother. It was a woman, or something that used to be a woman. She was crouched in a small alcove, her skin the color of a mushroom grown in total darkness. She was draped in hundreds of those red silk ribbons, sewn directly into her skin with what looked like copper wire. They fluttered around her like the feathers of a flightless bird. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring at a small pile of gear, my extra socks, my stove, the compass I'd lost 2 days ago at a creek crossing. She turned her head, her neck clicking with a sound like dried twigs snapping. Her eyes were gone, replaced by 2 large, smooth river stones sewn into her eyelids. Stay where the light can find you, she rasped again, her jaw unhinging further than humanly possible. I didn't wait for a third invitation. I turned and lunged for the slope, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it felt like it would crack. I heard her emerge from the cave behind me. She didn't run. She moved with a clicking, skittering gait, like a centipede. The red ribbons on her body hissed as they dragged across the leaves. The climb back out of the ravine was a nightmare. Every time I looked back, the beam of my headlamp would catch a flash of crimson silk getting closer. She was faster on the steep terrain, her elongated limbs finding grip where I found only mud. I could hear her breathing, a wet, whistling sound that mimicked the wind in the trees. I reached the main trail, the white blazes glowing like ghosts in the dark. I didn't stop. I ran south, my lungs screaming for oxygen, the taste of copper in the back of my throat. I ran until I saw the flickering light of a campfire. It was a group of 4 thru-hikers at a legal campsite. I practically collapsed into their circle, babbling about the cave and the ribbons. They looked at me with pity, clearly thinking I was having a breakdown brought on by exhaustion. They gave me water and a space near the fire as I sat there trying to stop my hands from shaking. I looked at the trees surrounding the camp. One of the hikers, a guy named Pack Rat, noticed my stare. "You okay, man?" he asked. "The ribbons," I whispered. "Did you see any red ribbons on the way in?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "Just the white blazes. Why?" I didn't answer. I reached into the side pocket of my backpack to get my water bottle, but my hand brushed against something soft and silky. I pulled it out. It was a red ribbon, and tied to the end of it was the stone from my own compass, the one I thought I'd lost. I looked up at the trees again. In the flickering light of the campfire, I saw them, high up in the branches, far above where a human could reach. Hundreds of red ribbons were being tied to the limbs. They were forming a circle around the campsite. The whistler I'd heard earlier wasn't the wind. It was the woman. She wasn't just chasing me. She was marking her territory. "Guys," I said, my voice trembling. "Look up." The hikers looked up, their smiles fading. Above us, the clicking sound started, a rhythmic mechanical tapping of stone against the stone, the river stones in her eyes. We didn't stay to see her descend. We packed our bags in a frenzied panic and hiked all night, 4 of us huddled together with our lights on high, until we reached the road crossing at Parisburg. The police went back a few days later. They found the cave. They found the bones. They even found the red ribbons. But there was no sign of the woman. The only thing they found in the back of the cave, sitting on a pedestal of human vertebrae, was my lost trail journal. Every page had been ripped out. In their place, the woman had sewn together hundreds of red silk ribbons into the shape of a book. On the very first ribbon, written in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "I found where the light hides." I moved out of the Appalachian region entirely after that. I live in a high-rise now, where the only thing outside my window is glass and steel. But last night, I found something that shouldn't be there. Hanging from the handle of my balcony door was a single strip of red silk, and when I looked at my reflection in the glass, for a split second, my eyes looked like smooth, gray river stones. The trail doesn't end just because you leave the woods. Sometimes it follows you home, one ribbon at a time.